Welcome to the Nature Cures podcast, where we uncover the secrets of natural healing, holistic wellness, and living your healthiest life naturally.
Ah, I love that.
Today, we're diving into the surprisingly complex world of conjunctivitis.
Right.
You know, those itchy, red, sometimes goopy eyes we all get from time to time.
It's so incredibly common, but what I find fascinating is that there's often more to it than meets the eye, so
Okay,
to speak.
I'm intrigued. Most of us just think, oh, I've got pink eye, and reach for the eye drops.
hmm
What else is there to consider?
Well, some sources suggest that conjunctivitis can be a sign of a deeper imbalance in the body,
Okay.
specifically something called a catarrhal condition.
Catarrhal condition, that sounds kind of intense. Break that down for me. What does that even mean?
Essentially, it refers to an overproduction of mucus in the body.
Hmm.
Think of it like this. When you have a cold and your nose is stuffed up, that's catarrh in action.
Hmm.
But it can manifest in other ways too, and some believe that conjunctivitis might be one of them.
So instead of just treating the eye symptoms, we should be looking at what might be causing this excess mucus in the first place.
Exactly.
It's a pretty different approach.
And one of the primary culprits, according to these sources, is diet. What we eat can either contribute to or help to alleviate this catarrhal condition.
Okay, now we're talking. I'm all about using food as medicine. So what
Yeah.
kind of dietary shifts are we talking about here?
The recommendations focus on clean eating,
Okay.
particularly emphasizing fresh fruits and vegetables.
Right.
For example, one source suggests starting with a 7-day exclusive fresh fruit diet. All kinds of juicy fruits are on the menu, apples, oranges, grapes, you name it, but interestingly, they specifically say to avoid bananas.
Hold on. No bananas. Why the banana ban? They always seem to be the go-to fruit for everything else.
It's not explicitly explained. It could be because they're a bit heavier and less hydrating than other fruits. The focus seems to be on those really juicy cleansing options.
Interesting. So lots of fruit, no bananas. What else does this dietary approach involve?
Well, for more severe cases of conjunctivitis, they recommend a 3 to 4 day juice fast
Right.
with orange or carrot juice every 2 hours. And this might sound surprising, they also suggest daily warm water enemas during that time.
Whoa, juice fasts and enemas. That sounds pretty intense. I can see why they'd reserve that for more serious cases.
Right, it's definitely not for everyone, and it's important to approach any kind of fasting or cleansing protocol with caution,
Yeah.
and ideally with guidance from a healthcare professional. But the underlying idea is to give the digestive system a break and help flush out any toxins that could be contributing to the problem.
Makes sense. So after the initial intensive phase, what does the long-term diet look like?
The key is transitioning to a balanced diet that's rich in raw vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and fresh fruit. Basically a whole foods, plant-based approach.
That sounds pretty healthy overall, even beyond conjunctivitis. But what about foods to avoid? What are the big no-nos according to this approach?
The main culprits are those refined, processed foods that many of us are all too familiar with. White bread, sugary cereals, packaged snacks, things like that. And they also suggest limiting or avoiding excessive meat consumption, strong tea and coffee, too much salt, and lots of condiments.
So really cleaning things up and focusing on whole, unprocessed foods. It seems like the goal is to reduce inflammation and give the body a chance to heal itself from the inside out.
Exactly. It's about creating an internal environment that supports overall health and well-being,
Right.
which in turn can help address those pesky eye symptoms.
I love that approach. It's not just about masking the symptoms, it's about getting to the root of the problem.
Absolutely. Now, beyond the general dietary guidelines, they also highlight a couple of specific juices that are said to be particularly helpful for conjunctivitis.
Oh, tell me more about those. I'm always looking for easy ways to boost my health.
Well, they specifically mention raw carrot and spinach juice, and they even provide a ratio, 200 milliliters of spinach juice to 300 milliliters of carrot juice.
Okay, that sounds super simple to whip up. I'm definitely going to try that. Anything else we should be thinking about in terms of diet?
They also highlight the importance of vitamins A and B2 for eye health.
Right, good old vitamins.
Yeah,
But sometimes it's hard to remember which foods are good sources of what.
sure.
Can you give us a quick rundown of where to find those vitamins?
Absolutely. For vitamin A, you've got great sources like whole milk, curds, butter, carrots, which we already mentioned for the juice pumpkin, leafy greens, tomatoes, mangoes, and papaya. Lots of options there.
Wow, that's a pretty diverse list. What about vitamin B2? Where can we load up on that?
Leafy greens are actually a great source of both vitamins A and B2. Other good options for B2 include milk, almonds, citrus fruits, bananas, so maybe they're not totally off the menu after all, and tomatoes.
Okay, so plenty of delicious and easy ways to get those essential vitamins.
Mm.
It seems like diet really is the foundation of this approach to addressing conjunctivitis.
It definitely is. But in addition to diet, they also recommend some external treatments that can provide relief.
Ooh, like what? I'm all ears.
One technique they suggest is called cold fomentation. Have you ever heard of that?
I can't say I have. What does it involve?
It's actually quite simple. You take a small towel, soak it in cold water, wring out the excess, and then apply it gently to your closed eyes. To keep it cold, you cover the towel with a warm cloth, and then you just repeat the process as the towel warms up. They recommend doing this for about an hour each time.
So a soothing cold compressed for the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds quite refreshing, actually. But an hour seems like a long time.
It does, but the idea is that it helps constrict the blood vessels and reduce inflammation. And they actually recommend doing this nightly for a week, even if your symptoms improve quickly. It's all about giving your eyes the time and support they need to fully heal.
Okay, I see their point. Consistency is definitely key with any natural remedy.
Exactly. Now, they also mention a couple of other techniques that we've actually covered in previous episodes.
Oh, which ones?
They briefly mention eye exercises, which we discussed in our episode on cataracts, and a technique called palming, which we covered in our episode on defective vision.
That's right. So for listeners who are interested in those techniques, we'll be sure to link those episodes in the show notes.
Sounds good.
It's amazing how these different aspects of eye health are all interconnected.
It really is. What's fascinating here is that these sources are encouraging us to think about conjunctivitis not just as an isolated eye problem,
Right?
but as a potential reflection of our overall health, particularly our digestive health.
That's such an important takeaway. It's so easy to get caught up in treating symptoms without addressing the underlying causes.
Exactly. And if we zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, it raises some interesting questions.
Like what? I'm always up for a good mind bender.
Well, if conjunctivitis can be linked to this catarrhal condition and potentially to diet, what other health issues might be connected in ways we haven't fully explored yet?
That's a really good question. It makes you wonder about all the subtle ways our bodies are trying to communicate with us.
Right.
Maybe those seemingly minor symptoms are actually clues to something bigger going on.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of taking a holistic approach to health.
Right.
We can't just compartmentalize our bodies and treat each symptom in isolation.
Right.
It's about understanding the interconnectedness of everything.
I love that perspective. It's about seeing the body as a whole system,
Yeah.
not just a collection of separate parts.
Precisely. And that's what's so intriguing about these natural approaches to health.
Yeah.
They often focus on addressing the root causes rather than just suppressing the symptoms.
Okay, so for our listeners who might be dealing with conjunctivitis or curious about these natural remedies,
Right.
what are some key takeaways they can walk away with from today's deep dive?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is to consider the possibility that conjunctivitis might be a sign of something deeper going on,
Okay.
particularly related to diet and digestion.
Don't just assume it's a random eye irritation.
Right.
Take a look at your overall health habits and see if there might be a connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in terms of specific actions, think about incorporating more of those beneficial foods we discussed.
Okay.
Those raw fruits and vegetables and juices, those vitamin-rich options.
Mm-hmm.
They can all contribute to a healthier internal environment.
And on the flip side, be mindful of those foods that might be contributing to that catarrhal condition.
Yes.
All that sugary processed stuff.
Absolutely. Small changes in diet can make a big difference.
Right.
And remember, those cold fomentations can be incredibly soothing and helpful for those sore eyes.
Right. Sometimes the simple natural remedies are all you need.
Yeah,
It's about giving your body the support it needs to heal itself.
absolutely.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to pose a final thought-provoking question to our listeners, building on what we've explored today.
I'm all ears.
We've talked a lot about the connection between eye health and overall physical health,
Right.
particularly digestion.
Uh-huh.
But what about the connection between our emotional health and our physical health? Could unresolved emotions or stress contribute to conditions like conjunctivitis?
That's a really interesting question. It definitely aligns with this holistic perspective we've been talking about.
Right.
And there's definitely a growing body of research exploring the mind-body connection and how our emotions can impact our physical well-being.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if those times when we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, our bodies might be trying to tell us something.
It's certainly worth considering. And it might be helpful to explore practices like meditation journaling or spending time in nature to help manage stress and cultivate emotional well-being.
Great suggestions. After all, true wellness encompasses not just our physical bodies,
Right.
but also our mental and emotional states.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance and harmony within ourselves.
Well said. And as always, we encourage our listeners to do their own research consult with qualified healthcare professionals and find what works best for their individual needs and circumstances.
Absolutely. It's about empowering yourself to take control of your health and well-being.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into natural remedies for conjunctivitis.
Okay.
We hope you found this exploration informative and inspiring.
And we hope it sparks some curiosity about the incredible healing power of nature.
Until next time, be well and embrace the power of natural healing. And remember, the journey to wellness is a personal one.
Absolutely.
It's all about...
What works for one person
Yeah.
might not work for another.
That's so true. It's all about listening to your body, experimenting, and finding what resonates with you.
Exactly. And remember, we're here to support you on that journey.
Yes.
We'll keep bringing you these deep dives into the world of natural healing, exploring new remedies, and uncovering those hidden connections that can empower you to live your healthiest life.
So until next time, keep those eyes bright, those bodies strong, and those minds curious.
And remember, nature holds the keys to a healthier, happier you.
Thanks for joining us on the Nature Cures podcast.